This is a sat. I do this every flight now. I don't know how many I've done, but a bunch. I love it. It's cool, and it's one of the few truly acro moves that I can do. But I don't know, I'm just wired to wonder what's next. This is a heli. Helis are super cool, and I'm a little bit starry-eyed about them right now. It's one of the higher level things that you can do on a paramotor or a paraglider. Not a lot of guys are doing them. There's some risk involved, but look at it. Like if I saw that, like that guy would be special. Now this is a dynamic. Another thing I want to learn, something you might pick up on the way to a heli, as he's doing now. Before you do cool stuff like that, you have to do lame stuff like this. The lame stuff I'm talking about is learning to stall. Now, stalls themselves are pretty cool, and I've done a couple of them. I went to 2 different SIV courses. I've done stalls in both of them. I'm not kind of straight up like self-training this thing, but I am maybe taking what I've learned in class and trying to really master it on my own, because you can only get so much time with an SIV instructor, and you know, you can learn a skill, but to truly master it, you know, I'm trying to do that on my own, and I'll be taking more courses too. This is a minimum speed drill. It's not much to look at, but it actually stressed me out a little bit just to pull absolute minimum speed and see how slow I could make the glider go. I thought as I did this that I was just 1 or 2 centimeters of brake travel away from it stalling. And when the wing stalls above you, it kind of collapses. It stops being a wing. It folds up into a ball. And it's a totally manageable situation if you know what you're doing. But, you know, do I? So this is me practicing minimum speed. Before I go any further, I want to throw this out there because it's important. I'm not an instructor, right? And I'm not saying this just to reduce my liability, which hopefully it does anyway. I'm saying it because I care about you. There are things I'm qualified to teach, maybe basic motor maintenance, basic kiting, how to do a forward launch. I think I do that pretty cleanly. And there are things I'm not qualified to teach, like stalling or helicos or dynamics or whatever. This isn't me teaching you how to do it. It's just me taking you along for my journey. I may get some things right. I may get some things wrong. If you want to learn how to stall, Max Martini has a great video on it. Or go to a SIV course, maybe better yet. Don't watch me. You know, I am trying to master stalls. I'm not trying to teach you. You should be learning from a master, not another student. The next thing I tried was pitch pendulum. And basically with this, you pull the brakes until the wing sort of falls behind you. You know, you can go further, and then you let it shoot forward. And then use that momentum and you kind of build it up and you let it shoot more and more and more. If you're really good at it, you can get the front to collapse on some wings. I don't know if you could do it on a Muse 3. I didn't get it that far, but it might be possible. Maybe someone else could do it. Anyway, the idea was to kind of get yourself comfortable with the idea of your wing sort of shooting in front of you, pulling it behind you to that almost collapse, and get the rhythm down and learn how your wing reacts. All of this is about teaching the pilot what the wing likes, and that's what I'm doing here. I did enough of all of these drills that the video would bore you to death, but this is just what I've been up to, sort of learning the edges of my wing's behavior. You know, I've got tons of time flying where the wing is happy flying. Let's spend a little time flying at the edge of what a wing likes. For those that are curious, this is how I sync up the camera. I do that and then match up the frames. This is the next thing I did. And to show you all of them would be dreadful. There's too many. I've done like 110 so far. It's called a pre-stall. And basically what I do is I pull the brakes farther and farther and farther. And as I pull them, they get harder and harder to pull. And then eventually there gets to be this period where it's lighter. Like suddenly it gives up the brake pressure and you pull it just a little bit. You can't see my air quotes, but just a little bit too far, right? And the wing kind of collapses. It goes into what we'll call a pre-stall. And the whole idea behind this is to recognize where the pre-stall point is and what the pre-stall point feels like. Their one was a little asymmetrical, so I kind of jostled around a bit. But if I were to try this on another wing, I would go through this exercise repeatedly. I don't know what I'd call a minimum. 20 of them? I'm not sure. if you have a paramotor and altitude is free, there's no reason why you can't invest the time to figure out how a wing's stall point works, and you have to do it more than once to get the knack for it. According to me, I'm acting like an instructor. What the heck do I know? So that's the next thing I did. And by the way, there's no helis in this video. There might not be any helis this year. There might not be any helis ever. I don't know. I think there'll be some of those before things, though, like a Misty or a Dynamic. Or stalling by acro people and cross-country people is considered an important skill to master. Because if your wing gets in a bad spot and tangled around itself, you can go into a stall, you can go into a back fly or flyback or whatever you want to call it, or tail slide, and the wing has a decent shot of getting out of whatever terrible configuration it's in and resetting into a better one. So advanced pilots in the free flight world all consider this to be really important. In the paramotor world, oftentimes they consider it a little wacky because they don't fly in weather that does that to their wing. But I do. I fly midday. You know, things could happen. You don't know. So anyway, at the very least, I'm going to get a stall dialed in and be good at it, or maybe a tail slide, so that it's there for me if I ever need it as a safety reset. And then from there, I don't know, you know, but we'll see what comes next. But I've decided I'm going to master this stall. As I get into more interesting things, expect to see me with some flotation over a lake as as the good stuff starts coming, and maybe an SIV course or two. I don't know. Let's see how many vacations my wife lets me take. But yeah, that's me practicing pre-stalls. I've done like 110, and I'll do more. Oh man, this stinks so much. So I was going to end this video with this thing that I did. At the end of this flight, I flew through a cloud. You could see through it. It was totally FAR 103 legal if you guys care. But I flew through a cloud, and then above it, I had the most magnificent view of like clouds underneath me. And if you look at my feet, look, I'm blowing backwards, right? So the winds aloft got really high above the cloud. There was a whole like weather, like inversion layer thing going on, and I'm flying backwards. I'm low on fuel. It was kind of interesting. So I spiraled down to lose some altitude, but I did not know that the cloud did this to my camera, and it made everything kind of hard to watch. So I guess I'll wrap the video here. This is video 1 of perhaps what will be my road to Helico, Dynamic, Misty's, new fun stuff in the arsenal.